Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be talking about Focus on the Masters, which is an arts organization here in Ventura, and our guest expert is the founder and executive director, Donna Granata. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you. So what is Focus on the Masters?
Well, Focus on the Masters is an arts education program. It's also an archive and library. We're located in Ventura, and we collect biographical information on accomplished artists. And we've been at it since 1994, and the documentation is very in-depth. It includes videotape biographies, oral histories, extensive oral histories, the collection of ephemera, papers, publications, and a digitized library of the artist's work.
Amazing.
Yes.
And what inspired you to start this?
Well, it came about through a series of unfortunate circumstances many years ago, and my effort to just stay focused and positive, and during some health issues that I had fallen down a flight of stairs of all things, and I had an epiphany at one point and just wanted to focus on something very positive. I was surrounded by artists. I grew up in Ojai, and I myself was a practicing artist. And I thought if I could carve out my own little niche in the world, it would be to document artists and surround myself by these amazing creative people.
It's cool. I tend to associate masters with painters, but in fact you support all arts, is that correct?
That's correct. We document all forms of creativity. Painters, sculptors, dancers, writers, actors. We have documented architects. We are very much about the diversity of creativity. We invite artists to submit their biographical material and send us packets of information on them that we can keep. And our archives actually include thousands of files. But the formal documentation takes place each year, and in the fall we collect nominations, and then we select up to 10 artists per year to formally document. And those artists are the ones that sit for an artist spotlight interview, which takes place at Levity Live the last Sunday of each month, and that is a public interview where the audience is present, can ask questions of the artist. But behind all of that is the documentation. So the artist spotlight is the culmination of the documentation, and then up until that point, the oral histories are recorded, and the collection of ephemera, and the digitized library of the artist's work. So we try to document an equal number of men and women, and then a variety of different artistic expression.
That's great. Actually, I'm wondering, is this done in other parts of the country or world?
Actually, in the early days, one of my great mentors was a gentleman by the name of Paul Karlstrom. And I met with him and his staff, and he was an oral historian for the Archives of American Artists. And so in those early days, I was able to kind of model our procedure and our methodology after the Archives of American Artists. And of course, we're not on that scale, but our methodology is closely tied with their process. And really, there's no other organization like ours in California, and very few in the United States. And it really is a time capsule of creativity in our region.
Good. Now, of course, you're in Ventura, but what geographical area do you serve?
We serve a national audience, more and more so with social media and having a social media platform. But our documentation reach includes artists who have influence in our area that may not necessarily live here. For example, Dennis Oppenheim is one of the famous examples, who created the bus home sculpture at the Pacific View Mall. He was a New York-based artist, but had a very important impact on our region. But now we travel as far as Los Angeles, all the way to Santa Barbara, to actually document artists who live in our geographic region. But we do reach beyond and have documented a number of internationally known artists who have come to our area.
Good. Now, you mentioned earlier that you are documenting accomplished artists. How do you define that?
Well, we have a selection criteria, and we collect nominations throughout the year. In the fall is when we have a committee of well-known art and respected art professionals who jury these artists from the nominations selected. And selection is based on the mastery of their craft, the level of peer recognition, and also the importance of their body of work in a historical context. So those three are the most important. And then once we have all of our nominees, we may take into account the age of the artist or the health of the artist. If somebody's advancing in age, or we know that there's illness or some extenuating circumstances, we may bump them up on the calendar to get them in, obviously in a responsible way to try to capture that particular individual. So, and then we select a variety of different medium. So when you look at our calendar each year, you'll notice that there's a painter, a sculptor, perhaps a writer, an actor, an architect, a collector. We try to diversify all the artists that we document, both in gender and also in their creative expression.
Wow. Okay, now when we're talking about documenting, let's say a dancer, or an actor, what is involved there? I mean, certainly with a visual artist or a painter or a sculptor, there's something there that you can see and take a picture of.
Right.
How would you represent?
Well, with all the artists, and particularly with, say, an actor or even a writer, here's a great example. We documented Christopher Trumbo, who was an Ojai writer. He was a playwright and screenwriter. His father was the famous Dalton Trumbo, who wrote Spartacus and Roman Holiday and The Brave One, very famous. He was also very famous for being one of the Hollywood 10 who were blacklisted during the McCarthy era. Christopher had written a fabulous play based on letters that his father wrote while he was in jail, jailed for contempt of Congress. And so with Christopher, we had historic photographs, we had the actual writings themselves, we had excerpts from the archives of his father before the House Un-American Activities Committee. So the documentation follows the lead of the artist no matter what their medium is. And in his case, his oral history was very important in helping to complete his book that he was writing that was published posthumously. So our archive itself is a very important resource historically and used to perpetuate the artist's work long after they're gone. And in fact, many of our viewers are probably familiar, there was a film called Trumbo that was released in 2016 starring Bryan Cranston. Right. So Bryan came to Ojai and watched Christopher's play in preparation for the Academy Award nominated film. And so, our reach is quite broad, and we're very proud of our archive, and we invite people to come and explore and use it because that's what it's there for.
Great. So for an actor or a dancer, I'm imagining it's video of a dancer and perhaps film clips for an actor.
That's right. And most importantly, it's their personal story. Stories are so important to understand, who these people are, where they came from, how they achieved a certain level of success, their trials and tribulations in pursuing their craft and their art form. And listening to stories and sharing stories is very, very healing, and it's very inspiring. It's a rich experience to sit and listen to somebody's own personal history. And so really that's what it comes down to is listening to these amazing people and hearing their own story of success.
Good. And how is Focus on the Masters funded?
We're funded by a variety of ways. We offer membership to the community, which is a huge part of our income. Membership has tremendous benefits. All of the Artist Spotlight interviews are free to attend, which is the biggest benefit, which is extraordinary. And then you get discounts for our special events. After every one of our public interviews, the artist is honored with a dinner in a private home. You receive a discount to that ticket price. We also write grants and have fundraisers. In the fall of every year, we have our big gala, which is very popular, and it includes an auction and special programming and performances and so forth. So we write grants, we have individual contributions, fundraising, and membership.
You have some work you do throughout the year.
Yes, I'm very busy.
Indeed. And do you need volunteers?
We always need volunteers, and thank you for asking. We always invite volunteers. It's really fun to participate, and of course you get to meet all these extraordinary people and have the insight on a lot of wonderful experiences. We need interns to help us with our office duties. Also, we're ramping up some of our production schedules. We're shooting portraits of the artists. We're also editing excerpts out of their oral histories for radio broadcasts and podcasts. And then we're also editing all of our programming. So we need help in every capacity, and we welcome people to call us. Our phone number is 805-653-2501. Or people can go to our website, which is chock full of information and, of course, all of our programming, but also you can email us through the website as well.
Good. And can you touch upon the process of nomination?
Well, we have a nomination form on our website at FocusOnTheMasters.com, and it's not a difficult process at all. It asks for all the contact information of the artist and the information from the nominator, and then we ask for a link to a website. The artist doesn't necessarily have to have a website, but if there are links to show announcements or reviews, publications and so forth, or even YouTube interviews, things like that, and then you just submit it and it automatically comes to me, and then we put it into our nominee file that we collect throughout the year, and then in the fall we assemble our jury, and then it's a very, very difficult decision, and I don't want people to be discouraged if they submit a nomination and they're not selected for that particular year. We do carry forward each of the nominations, so we have a running list. We call it a short list that is just ongoing and continually updated every year. But we can only document up to 10 per year, so it's difficult. And also, just an additional note, if you're a painter, for example, and we only select 1 or 2 painters per year, you can see how, it's a stiff competition, but worth sticking out, because we will eventually get to you. And that aside, we invite everybody to submit to us so we can keep track of their activities and what they're up to in building their folder in our archive.
Good. Now we're just about out of time here. I'm wondering if we could get the website so that people could get more information.
Sure.
And is there a summating message you'd like to convey to the viewers?
Just how important art is in our life. People ask, why do I do what I do, and why this incredible group of people? Art is a language, and it allows us to not just understand the world around us, but understand ourselves as well. And it's a rich experience to get to know these people, and in that process you learn a lot about yourself. So I encourage everybody to come out and enjoy our programming. Our website is FocusOnTheMasters.com, and to all the artists out there, please submit your biographical material to us so we can start a folder on you and start a file, and we will keep adding to it as long as you keep sending us information and show announcements.
Donna, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.